So now we're going to learn about CSS resets. And the best way to learn about CSS resets is just kind of experience why we need them. And we've already seen this before. So here I'm in a folder 018 CSS Reset, and I'm in 04 McLeod Reset, and I have that index.html open. And you can see here I have 6 headings. I have H1, H2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Those 6 headings. And there's no CSS. I don't have any inline CSS. I don't have any CSS up here in the head, and I'm not linking to any CSS style sheet. Yet when I display this page in a browser, these are already formatted. This is bigger than this, is bigger than this, is bigger than la 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 la, on and on. And if I right click that and choose inspect, I can come down here and I can look at the CSS for this element right here. I've selected heading 1. You can see the browser's highlighting that up there when I'm over it. And here is the CSS. There are the styles, the cascading style sheet. These are the styles for H1. And it has a font size of 2M and display block and font weight bold. Well, if I right click 02, right, that one, font size of 1.5M, 1.17, display block, no font size, font weight bold. There's a font size of 0.83M, 0.67M. Well, where did that formatting come from? That formatting is coming from the browser by default. And you can see here that that default formatting is right there. User agent style sheet. So the user agent, this is like, I don't know why they chose that phrase, right? But it's the agent of the user. The browser is the agent of the user. I'm the user. And then here's my agent, the browser, which contacts servers. And so user agent is like just, I don't know, it sounds like James Bond or Secret Service or something like that to me. But this is another way to say browser in web speak. So this is your browser's default styling. And every browser will style HTML by default in different ways. So that's why we need a CSS reset. So we want to take all those different ways that browsers style HTML by default and set it to 0, set it to some baseline. And then from that baseline, we will from the ground up do all of the styling ourselves. And that way, whatever we create will have a uniform look across all browsers. That's the goal. And that's why we need CSS resets. All right. So there's been a little bit of a history with resets. I'll just go through that quickly. You'll hear about the Meijer Reset. So there's this guy, Eric Meijer, in 2008, who first was like, hey, we should just like reset all of this stuff. I'm just going to go in and overwrite it. You can overwrite CSS, right? You could just say, hey, display is now inline block, or font weight is now normal. And then I could overwrite this user agent style sheet. And so that's what a reset does. And first there was Eric Meijer, and then another one came out, normalize, and then there was sanitize. And then I create my own reset, and I just kind of like put in what I need to bring things down to 0. And then, you know, as I discover I need something else, I add that in. And so I really believe that you should understand everything that your code does, and you should have no extraneous code in your application. Right? It should be lean, clean. You should totally understand all of it, and you should have no extraneous code, and that's going to keep it light. It'll load fast, and that's the best way to build any piece of software. So I just do my own reset. All right, so now let's add in the reset that I've already created here. So I'm just going to add in link. I'm going to link to my McLeod reset. And now when I refresh this page, you're going to see, and let me bring this down, you're going to see a whole bunch of new styles appear, and then these are all going to become uniform. So here we go. Here's the refresh. So those all became uniform. And now I've overwritten the font size, and I've overwritten font weight bold, and I've applied my own styles. So that's how a reset works. What is in my reset? Basically, I have a whole bunch of element selectors. So the HTML is an element, body is an element, select that one, select all of my heading elements. I have a whole bunch of element selectors. So this is multiple selectors here. I'm selecting all of the elements that I'd use, and I'm saying put all these to 0. Margin padding border, 0. font inherit. So that's where we get an overwrite. And you don't need to understand each of these properties. I've put comments in so that you can get some sense of what they do. And you could also just go to MDN and look up like line height to read about it, read more about it. Like I said, it's really good to understand what all of your code is doing. So I really encourage you to kind of go through and do that. So how is Meijer Reset? How is Meijer Reset different from Eric Meyer's or Normalize or Sanitize? Well, if you look at Eric Meyer's Reset, and this is the most recent one, which is dated 2011, there's stuff in here that's not used anymore, right? Like H group, we don't use that, and so I've pulled out like all the things which aren't used anymore. And we have some conflicts in code right here. It says, hey, this is overwritten, right? So I've just cleaned up basically all of this. And then how is it different than Normalize or Sanitize? Normalize and Sanitize have a whole bunch of stuff in them. They're pretty big. And then they apply their own default formatting. So they don't bring it down to a 0 point, but instead they just normalize it across all browsers. And then, okay, H1 is still going to be this font size, H2 will still be this font size. I personally prefer just starting from the ground up and building from 0. So that's why I use the McLeod reset, my own reset. All right, so that's a little bit about CSS resets. I hope you get it, why we need them, because browsers have default formatting, right, that they just apply, and all browsers are different. And so we just want to set all that to 0 and start from the ground up and build our formatting ourselves, not have anybody else, browsers or otherwise, contributing to the way our page looks, because we don't want it thrown off. All right, so those are CSS resets and why you need them. And throughout this course, and as you continue learning about building websites, you'll understand all the stuff in here. And then, I encourage you to kind of pick through these and look through those at some point too. Not right now. When the course is over, go through Normalize and Sanitize because they've got a lot of crazy CSS in them. All right, so later you should do that. Anyhow, those are CSS resets. Now in the next videos, we're going to start learning about CSS selectors, which are super awesome and super important to help you write good CSS.